Hello everybody, welcome to Tapping In Part 6. I hope that you guys had a good day, whether it was that you got to go back to work or whether you're preparing your kids to go back to school or preparing them to homeschool again. Anyway, we welcome you tonight and we hope that you enjoy the Part 6 of the webinars. So this is the last one, the last part of the series. So we'll start back at webinar 1 tomorrow. So if you'd like to join us then, I'll be back starting it again, all for you guys. Okay, so welcome. Let's just do an acknowledgement of country first up, a very important message. 30 Foot Drop acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to the Indigenous people, their cultures and beliefs to both elders past and present. 30 Foot Drop's funding. 30 Foot Drop would like to acknowledge the Department of Communities Disability Services for funding this and many other initiatives. Without their support, so many projects such as Two Wise Monkeys wouldn't see the light of day, and we'd be much more poorer for it as a community. This workshop is part of a realities and advantages of an Access and Inclusion grant awarded to 30 Foot Drop, part of an information, linkages and capacity building grant for 2018 and 2019. We'll just go over some housekeeping. Sorry if it keeps freezing. It seems to be freezing on my screen, which it hasn't done before, so sorry if it's freezing for you guys. Okay, so housekeeping. Unfortunately, we do not have all the resources to monitor all of our live streaming platforms. But if you do have any questions, you can head over to our website, which is below this video, www.30footdrop.com.au/live. So head into the live, there's a little yellow live box with black writing. Head into there and you can chat. You can ask any questions along the way, or you can leave it till the end. We'll be covering a lot of information in a short period of time, so we ask attendees to just try and minimize any distractions that might be around you. Grab a pen and paper, grab a cup of tea, grab something to eat to keep you going. It runs for just under an hour, this one. It's not as long as one. But anyway, just do as good as you can. I know it's hard with kids and stuff this time of night, as some of you may have seen when I did them from home. I had some little visitors come in. And also, if you talk about us or share our information, please make sure you tag us. We'd love to be involved. We want to get our word out there, and the more people that know about this, the better, and the most likely we're going to make changes happen. We also record all of the webinars, so if you wanted to review it afterwards, you can review it on our 30 Foot Drop website. You can review it on our YouTube channel, Facebook page, and the Vimeo library. So, with all the research that we'll be talking about today, you can also look into that research further. So that's again going to our website, clicking resources and going into there and checking out more information. If you needed to know more about a particular subject that we go over, all the information in great detail is on our website. And also, if you know anyone that may benefit from these websites, please share with anyone that you know that could benefit. We feel that the more people that get this message, the better. And we'll be referencing, at the end of the webinar, we normally do a survey. So just tap webinar part 6. There's about 5 questions. All you need to do is click on your answer and it's done. It's easy peasy, and the more feedback we can get from everyone, the better we can be as a business. Okay, let's do the presenter introductions. Now it's showing me that it's frozen again, so I'm sorry, I'll have to have a chat to Ben about that. Okay, so a quick introduction of myself. I am one of the two wise monkeys. I am hear no evil. So just by looking at me, you probably can't tell what I may suffer from. Through me, you'll realise that you'll hear no evil about impairment. When I was 8 years old, I was diagnosed with mild dyslexia. I struggled at school, and I guess my mum and my family didn't really know what was going on. And back 30 years ago, there wasn't as much information out there or testing as there is now. So teachers used to hit me on the head, read out my low marks in front of the classmates, embarrass me in front of my classmates, making me feel completely dumb and unworthy. And because it made me feel like that, I really didn't like school for that reason. It's bullying in a way from the teachers. Luckily, none of the students really bullied me. Maybe, I don't know, I had lots of friends and they were really supportive and they would always help me, which is really nice. So I encourage everyone, if you know anyone that has a disability or impairment or dyslexia anyway, or your children are friends with someone that has it, just encourage them to be gentle with that person and help that person, because those people that helped me, I will remember them forever, because, you know, being an 8-year-old or younger, because I've obviously had it all my life, struggling at school is the worst feeling in the world. Getting the answers wrong is the worst feeling in the world, especially when everyone else is getting it and you're like, I don't get it. People with dyslexia are normally visual, and the way that they teach school is not really visual. You know, they'll write things on the board and you'll just be expected to work out the maths equation, for instance, whereas, I don't know, if they used blocks and stuff like that, I know they do in younger years, but even for the older kids that aren't understanding, those sorts of things can help kids with dyslexia and learning disabilities. Anyway, I didn't let it stop me. I was a stubborn little child, and I was determined to prove them wrong. I found my passion in art, and at the age of 13 I was drawing in an art class, and the teacher stopped and was like, wow, look at your work, you've drawn it exactly how I wanted you to, you've done shading, you've done this and that. And they held up my artwork to the class and was showing the class, and that made me feel really good. So I felt like I'd found myself, and since then that's what I've gone with. I've used my creative side of my brain, and a lot of people with dyslexia, that's the case. They normally have a creative brain, or they're really good at making things or using their hands. So once again, if you know anyone that has a disability or learning disorder, you can encourage them to follow that path. And I have worked all around the world in the arts field. I've got diplomas, arts diplomas. I worked in museums, galleries all around the world, organised exhibitions, marketing, everything to do with exhibitions I did. I even have had my own exhibitions with my own artwork, sold artwork, and I also do photography, which is what I'm currently doing alongside my two wise monkeys. And since the lockdown, the isolating, I finally, after 7 years, picked up a paintbrush, and that felt so good. Haven't been able to do it since, but I'm determined to finish that painting. Anyway, that's me. The other monkey is Ben, and he is see no evil. His story is not hidden like mine, but I will let him tell you his story when he comes and does a webinar next. He is the brains behind the Two Wise Monkeys project. He is the guy behind 30 Foot Drop, and because of him we're going to make these changes, and because he knows what it feels like to be discriminated against and not be included and not be able to access certain buildings or services. So that's why he's doing what he's doing, to make people more aware that they need to make their business more accessible. Okay, but isn't there normally 3 wise monkeys? Who do you guys think the third monkey is? Hopefully you guessed right, it's you. So, the aim of today's workshop is to turn you into a wise monkey. You'll begin on a journey of realizing that, impairment or not, we are all human and deserve to be treated with the same. We deserve to be acknowledged and treated with the same respect as anyone else. Such an important message. We are all the same. There's no reason why someone should be treated differently just because they have something that looks different or they struggle with something. There's just no reason, and that is why we're here today. And also, those people that really want to be that third wise monkey, we now have these gorgeous t-shirts available so that you guys could hopefully become a wise monkey too. And we have Ben's logo on the back too. So these are available on our website. So go to shop and you can purchase a beautiful t-shirt in either white or black, and they go from size 6 to size 5XL. So get in there and get one. They are awesome t-shirts and they are so popular. Right, let's get into it. Outline and method of today and tonight. So how are we going to get you started on the path of a wise monkey? Well, there is a lot to learn about people with impairment and their potential impact on your business. Today's session is all about how businesses can meet the specific needs of this market in order to tap into their business and create change and inclusive ideas. We'll finish off our focus on tourism and events by having a look at the future. The southwest region of Australia has the potential to grow this market, and we will have a look at how this can be accomplished. To finish off, we will do an open forum chat session where you can ask any questions, but please feel free to ask any along the way if you have any. So how are we going to cover all this? What will our teaching method be? The answer is fun, open and honest discussion. If we can't be open and honest with each other, then things can't change. If we're keeping our feelings towards these issues inside, we're not talking about them, then things can't change. If we all come together and we all talk about them and we can talk about how we can make the changes, then changes are going to happen. So you'll also notice so far that there's very little written content on the slides, and that is because we want you to interact with us. If you want to talk, if you want to chat, you've got time to type a message to me. But it also helps people with an impairment, hearing or vision or dyslexia or anything like that. The slides are easy to follow. So it's all made so that it's easy to follow, easy to understand, it's not complex, and we do not believe in death by PowerPoint either. So, terminology in review is the next thing we will be going over, and lots of people get these two things mixed up or think that it's the same thing. So I'll first be going over disability and impairment. An impairment is an injury, illness or congenital condition that causes or is likely to cause a loss of difference in physiological and psychological function. In short, an impairment is your medical diagnosis. So my impairment is mild dyslexia. A disability, on the other hand, is the loss of limitation loss or limitation of opportunities to take part in society on an equal level to others due to social and environmental barriers. It is, as the word implies, something that makes you unable to access or participate in something. So if I had limited mobility and I wanted to access a cafe that had stairs or was up on a hill slightly, then someone with a mobility issue is unable to access that service. So hopefully that makes sense so far. But someone like me with dyslexia and things that can make me unable to access your service would be too much wording, complex information. Sometimes stylized script can be hard for people to read with dyslexia and other learning disabilities, which makes it hard for us to get the right information that we need to use your service. This is especially important to know because some people's impairments, like mine, are hidden. And, it's not something that I used to talk about before. Most of my friends and all of that wouldn't have even known that I did have mild dyslexia. So it's the people like us that have the hidden impairments that aren't as obvious, that could be struggling with things. So if you can make your information easy to understand, then we're going to be drawn to your business. So next I'm going to discuss the difference between access and inclusion. Access refers to the removal or reduction of barriers, physical and attitudinal, to participate in activities and functions of a community. At its core, access focuses a lot on the physical world around us and can be checked with a checklist. Inclusion is so important. It is more of a physiological state of being and is a process hereby every person, irrespective of their age, disability, gender, religion, sexual preference, or even nationality, who wishes to, can participate fully in all aspects of an activity or service in the same way as everyone else in the community, helping them to feel included in activities. So if a person is not made to feel like they are included in your business, or someone's come in with a limited mobility and they're not getting the choice to sit where they'd like, say they want to sit by the window where they can see the water, but you don't have enough room for them there because of the accessibility or the inclusion, you're not including them anyway. If you're getting them to sit somewhere else that there's more room for them, you need to make sure that your business includes everyone. If that person with a mobility issue wants to go and sit by the window to see the water for dinner, then you need to make sure that you've got that available for them. So hopefully this all makes sense to everyone, the terminologies. Next we will get into the nitty-gritty of what tonight's webinar is all about. In session 5, we discussed the similarities between travellers with an impairment and the rest of the population, showing that there is much of an overlap. Despite the similarities to the general population, there are some important differences and specific needs that we need to talk about. Travellers with an impairment have a strong tendency to manage stress and uncertainties of travel by returning to destinations that they know well. Consequently, they appear to have a higher rate of repetitive visitation to businesses that support their needs, meaning that they are loyal customers. The Accessible Tourism in Victoria and Queensland report found that there are 3 subjects which are areas specific to the needs which can be used to attract this market. These are information, planning and service. Let's go through these. Information. Travellers with an impairment need more support in planning their experiences if they want to travel as much as they wish to, and for it to also be an enjoyable experience for them rather than a stressful one, because let's face it, who wants to go on holiday if it's stressful? Now that is not a holiday. A stressful holiday is not a holiday. Overall, more detail in the information that is currently being provided was the highest priority to this market, particularly those with limited mobility. While this mostly related to digital resources, such as websites and reviews, it could also refer to information anywhere travellers look, including destinations, platforms, and overseas travel. So, people with limited mobility and impairment and disability, they need more information to access your service. So if you don't have that information available to them, then they are going to go back to the original place that they may have found 10 years ago. And I'm sure they would love to try other businesses out, but there's just not enough information on your website or available in your service to let them know that you are accessible Or maybe it's just that you aren't accessible. So that is why these webinars are important, because for you guys to see, is your business accessible to accommodate everyone's needs? So more than just having long documents with complex information, we need more information that is relevant. Most places already have different measures in place. Let them know by putting it on your website and on your profiles, such as TripAdvisor or Expedia. As well, make your information easy to find and absorb. This specifically relates to accessible tourism information and is often not prominently displayed and is often very complex. As we discussed in previous sessions, this is a decisive market, and people with an impairment are more likely to stop a transaction or discourage people from using your business because their needs weren't met. Definitely something to think about. They did a survey, which we go over in Tapping In part 3 or 4, can't remember. They did a survey where they asked questions and people with disability and impairment answer them. And the amount of it's 1 in 3, they're most likely to dissuade others, and the percentage is really, really high. So if you've disappointed someone with a disability or impairment, or they weren't made inclusive, then you're highly likely those people have highly likely dissuaded their friends from using your business. Information needs to be well structured rather than a 50-page document with all the information on it. This can be so overwhelming for people, and that's not just people with a disability or impairment, people with anxiety, people with social issues. We just want it to be made easy. Lots of information like that can cause anxiety, and then people give up and don't want to read it and walk away. So look at breaking that information down to smaller logical parts. For example, one part on how to let the business or service know what you need. And then another part where people can access how people can access your ramps, your accessible toilets and aquad parking spots. So businesses that have come to our live sessions, they've taken away from it that they might need to put a map on their website of all the accessible places within their business, so that people know where to go, know where it is, and know that you've got it. So you need to make sure that it's on your websites and your services and your marketing brochures. Have it, talk about it. As discussed earlier, we can relate to this marketing if you subconsciously feel included. So if they're seeing that there's a symbol, the wheelchair symbol, which sort of says there's accessible things within that business, then that's making those people feel included. Okay, information continued. Let's have a look at the specific findings that relates to information. When asked what the number one priority was in accessible tourism is, the most mentioned was information provision. If you make it easy to find and are highly accessible, then you will increase the chances of attracting more customers to your business. 41% wanted information contained on review sites like TripAdvisor or Expedia that was relevant to the travellers with specific needs. There are many resources as to what these are, and you can have a look at these on our website. A subject brought up to our attention many times is the introduction of an accreditation system that shows businesses that have made the commitment and implemented the accessible travel systems. So that is in the making, and it's a website where businesses can apply to be assessed, and the assessors decide whether your business is 5-star rating or 1-star rating. So, if you're 5-star, then the person with mobility or impairments knows that that 5-star business has got everything that they need, and that 1-star business probably won't go there. So that's going to be really exciting once that's up and running, and so many people are going to benefit for that, and so many businesses are going to gain so much. When asked what the priority for improvements to the market was, 86% rated that the addition of more practical information is very important, and this did include locations of the Acrod bays, toilets and accessible ramps. 83% rated an increased prominence of this information on tourism and transport websites was also very, very important. So that's kind of reaffirming what I've said about having that information right there on your first page, or it may not be important to everyone to know where the accessible toilets are or the accessible parking spots are, but to people with a disability impairment, it is the number one thing that they need to know. For just anyone, they're not even going to think about it, and people that own the businesses need to think about those people that it is their number one priority. Okay, planning. Let's move on to the next part of Pacific needs. People with impairment, especially those with mobility issues, have specific needs that, if not met, makes visiting a business or event impossible. With all of the effort and cost it takes to planning a trip or visit somewhere, lots of research is done beforehand to ensure that the resources is not wasted. 40% of respondents stated that not knowing what to expect was a barrier to travel, highlighting that more detailed information needed to be available before planning their trip. So that just shows that if they don't know what to expect, they're not going to come. So if you've got it out there, you've got all the information that needs to be known on your website, on your service, your customer service guys on the other end of the phone know the answers to all the accessible tourism questions, then those people are going to come and visit your business. So as you can see, there is definitely a need for expert advice at the planning stage if you want to attract this market. Creating relationships and prompting your accessibility on platforms such as disability forums, peak bodies in the area and specialist travel agents, and even the NDIS coordinators are all important. Internally, you could appoint an accessibility coordinator within your business, someone who is knowledgeable in all aspects of the accessibility within your organisation. This person would be responsible for answering all the queries and questions, and they also create the good, strong relationships that people with disability and impairment need. They need that trust, they need that confidence, and they need it a lot more than everyone else because they've got other things they have to deal with, and it's hard enough to try and figure it out for themselves. But if they've got that person within your business that they can ring up with a problem or an issue or anything like that, they've got that connection, and they've then got the stability and courage to come to your business because they feel comfortable. That person on the end of the phone has made them feel included. This coordinator could also address the next point of research. Specifically, the research highlighted a strong preference with a business or destination. So this just points out that it is a number one priority that people with disability and impairment do want that connection with that person. And lots of businesses probably don't even realize that. And the way that the world has going, it's turning so digital. It's amazing for people with disability and impairment in some ways, but we all need that human to human contact as well to feel comfortable and get the right answers that we need. You're not necessarily going to trust a automatic message to do with what kind of accessible things that business has. This would provide a potential customer with the information that they need in a rapid and accurate manner, having that person, increasing the likelihood of turning it into a sale. That personal connection is so important, especially to someone with a disability or impairment. Traditional travel agents with a strong service ethic could also be important in driving this conversion, particularly for older travellers and those with lower support needs. Many clients had low expectations, so this advice could expand their interest and create demand for new products. Travellers with impairment find it hard to be inspired when they don't know what is possible, and having an advocate for that possibility would be a huge win for everyone. It would be a huge win for your business. It would be a huge win for someone with a disability and impairment, someone that is there for them, someone that is advocating for their needs. Okay, service. There are still many challenges with regards to the attitudes and understanding from tourism, hospitality, event staff, and those of the public towards travellers with an impairment. This is especially a challenge for younger travellers with an impairment and those who have hidden impairments, who require support in more or less obvious ways. Top service by your staff would be a key driver and for recommendation across all travel categories, because we all know that good service drives customers. If you're not getting good service, then you're not going to go to that business. I certainly won't be. So it's just the same for people with disability and impairment, if not more important. Cost is very important for many travellers with an impairment, as many travellers need to travel with a carer or equipment, which makes their holiday or their travel or their experience more expensive for them than anyone else. So assistance with these costs, including potentially via the disability insurance scheme or via a special deal or service for those with a carer, would assist removing the barriers to travel. And also this has a ripple effect in regards to the ethical consumerism as discussed in our earlier webinars. So, it would be important to remember that that person with an impairment or disability isn't necessarily coming on their own. They may have 4 people in their party coming to visit. One of them might be a carer, and that family is having to pay for that carer. So it's something to look at for your business, that maybe provide half-price deals for carers, or provide some kind of extra service for that carer or that family, because it's hard. It's hard for these people to travel as it is, and they've got to carry more equipment, offer more help. There's little things that we can do to encourage more travel for these people so that they can see more of the world in the southwest. Okay, so let's look at growing the market in our region and the major stakeholders. So we've looked at the opportunities and needs of this segment and what potential we can tap into. How are we going to grow this market? What needs to be done and who needs to be involved? The opportunity to grow this market is a multifaceted project in which all key stakeholders have a role to play. Who are these stakeholders? Let's have a look. First up, we have people with an impairment, their family and their carers. These are people who will be served by this project, and having a direct understanding of their needs is critical at every stage. They should be the central part of every decision made, which is one of the downfalls a lot when you've got people making decisions for people with disability impairment, and there may not be anyone there that is knowledgeable about what their needs are, and their needs aren't actually getting met, but these people think that they are needing them. So people with disability need to be involved in that process in order for it to work, because if they're not involved, then how do you know that what you're deciding for them is what they need or is going to work? Okay, so they need to be central. Peak bodies, these people also need to be involved, that represent both tourism and the disability sector. They need to make choices alongside people with disability to ensure that they know what needs need to be met. And who else? The government on a state and local level. They can help with infrastructure. Destination management and organisations such as visitor centres can also be involved, and tourism and events service providers. These are all people that need to get involved and bring this together to build a better future for every human being. Okay, just gonna have a drink. Growing the market in the region. This part is intended as an executive overview of the stages. This is by no means a how-to must-do. We realise that there is much more involved, but this is the beginning anyway. There are 5 stages that are required to grow this market. They are consult, inspire and educate, collate, promote, and lastly build. Let's have a look at these closer and how the stakeholders need to be involved. First up is consult. Sorry, my iPad's just had a bit of a spaz. This should be the foundation of accessible tourism. It should ensure that what is offered is built on a rich understanding of what travellers with an impairment and disability want and need. This is the responsibility for all stakeholders, but government and destination management officers can take the lead, as they have the resources and the skills to undertake projects and research to then guide the others. Growing the market in your region. Inspire and educate. Ensure that the industry has an understanding of the potential of the sector and has provided support on how to start targeting it. Government, destinations and peak bodies should all have a role in driving this. Further, many travellers with an impairment have low expectations of what is available, while their aspirations for travel is high. Their task is to encourage them to explore and test the boundaries. Peak bodies and service providers can play a strong role here, and so can individual operators. So here is a picture of Ben abseiling, and before this he never thought that he could do this again. But here the peak bodies and businesses came together to make it work for him. He abseiled in a wheelchair down the tallest building in Perth. Something that most people would think, oh, there's no way that could work. And Ben also probably thought that. But people came together, peak bodies came together, businesses and services came together, and he did it. So it just shows that things can be done if the right people come together to make it work. Okay, growing the market, collate. This is about bringing the experiences together to provide a holistic offering in some key destinations. So it will help the traveller plan and navigate their trip. Government and peak bodies in both tourism and disability sectors and service providers can all potentially play a role to help identify new areas of experience and product development or supporting infrastructure. Governments can work with the sector in a number of ways, including improving the accessibility standards in the industry and developing infrastructure that considers the complete user's experience. Stage 4, promote. Many travellers are not aware of what is on offer. Therefore, it is important that you promote what is available to generate demand. The information needs to be easy to find, well structured, and provide an opportunity to develop further planning to build confidence in the experience of the trip. This is the responsibility of individual businesses and destinations. So it's all about building it up and you know, changes getting made and then other people follow, and it's like a flow on effect. And that's what we want to see happen. So this last one, build, is not the highest priority right now, but new infrastructure needs to be the subject of ongoing focus to do with this market. Ensuring that new infrastructures employ universal design principles, which make this opportunity more cost effective in the future. This is a cross industry responsibility. It's important for new businesses and companies to follow these standards, and it also is a responsibility of people with an impairment to generate this demand. So a lot of new buildings, they could be building it and they haven't thought about, is it highly accessible for someone in a wheelchair or mobility issues? Is it going to work? Is it inclusive? You know, so get it right from the beginning. Have it on the plans where all the accessible toilets, parking bays, everything like that is all going to work where it is. I mean, you may have an accessible toilet that's right at the back of the building, and then the parking is way over the other side. Now that's not really going to be very helpful for someone in a wheelchair. So make it easy and include these things. I mean, there's some buildings that probably are getting built with none of these things. And it's just important, if we get it right from the beginning, then those businesses that didn't include those accessible services within their business are not having to do it 5 years down the track and spend more money. What we're trying to say here is get it right from the beginning and we can all be happy. So that is webinar part 6, and I hope that it all made sense to you tonight. Now I will be switching off for 5 minutes for you guys to send any questions that you might have. So if you do have to go, I hope that you enjoyed tonight and it made sense. If you need to go back and watch anything again, it's available to watch once we hit the end button. And all the resources are available on the website also. And tomorrow we'll be starting back at webinar part 1. So these webinars run until the end of June. So if there's some that you've missed or you can't make it until another couple of weeks, we're always going to be doing them. They're still going to be available for the next couple of months. So don't fear that you will miss out. Anyway, I'm going to press questions now and wait for anyone to send me a message. So I will see you guys very soon. But if not, I will see the rest of you another day. So welcome back. There is no questions tonight, which is totally fine. If you do think of anything along the way, you can email us through our webpage or Facebook. So you can message the 30 Foot Drop page if you do have any questions. I hope that you guys enjoyed tonight, and I look forward to seeing anyone that wants to do webinar part 1 tomorrow. Have a good night and rest up and look after each other in this current situation. Let's hope that we are all on the up now and things are changing. Fingers crossed. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Bye.